Hi, my name is Esther.
Hi,
Hi.
welcome to the show.
Wholeness.
Hi. Thank you so much. I have a question for Seven.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
Seven. Okay, thank you. Um, I have. Just to be honest with you, I have at least two voices in my head, and they go back and forth about decisions about what's good, what's bad for me, and I think that these are the ones that you've called like Abel and Cain, and like the monkey mind. How do I balance them? And then how do I know which voices to trust?
Very good question. Obviously, this is a step-by-step procedure because what many people have that have worked heavily in this area have shown is that many times that the actual pathogens in the body, such as Candida, can really get the mind excited. And this is like when you see someone there and the leg is jumping and continuously jumping, this is generally a sign of Candida. So it's kind of like the same thing going on in the mind. So the first thing that I would do is I would check the parasite level of the body and just kind of by gauging your diet and when's the last time that you've done any kind of parasite cleanse. And then kind of start from there because if you shouldn't really work some psychologically on yourself until you work physically first because, it's just the physical side of our being is still more stronger than the mental side of our being. And this is because of the millions of years that the body has taken to completely evolve into what it is. And as being, to having a certain level of sentience itself, it is very convinced that it is a physical body and that it does exist on a planet, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's the first thing. And then the second thing is also to look into your life and to see personally what kinds of traditions or what kinds of states of consciousness that you really have that are warring with one another and attempt to narrow them down into what would be archonic or what we would call archetypical characters. Okay. And then once you do that, then it allows you to be able to become a mediator between these two by electing to go into something new. And that's why I was saying that the open source spirituality and everything that we're introducing now, starting this month, is really the next level to this, because when certain people have different questions, generally the answer to those questions is to get busy because they say idle mind is the devil's workshop. It's every bit of that. If we don't have a certain kind of mission and things tapped into to what we really are and that can boost us, then we find ourselves kind of picking on ourselves and plucking at ourselves to make things better anyway. It's just like continuously washing the car over and over again, even though it's clean. So what I would recommend is personally continuously following the information, following the network, working on getting rid of the parasites and things that are in the body that really do control a lot of the extra brain chatter. And then look out also for this new video that I'm coming up with, because what happens is that the breathing technique, especially once the body reaches a certain frequency, it helps. And you can see this easy by if you've ever done yoga. When you get out of yoga, the mind is very quiet for at least a moment. You don't really want to talk to anybody. You don't want to go into the whole external thing right away. You rather enjoy that solace. So I would suggest something like that to you also, is not only the breathing, but also to work with something like yoga, because it does challenge the body, gets the body kind of tired, and then it allows you that space in the end to begin to experience your mind when it's quiet. Last but not least, I would also suggest Ayurveda. If you feel like personally that this is something you've been dealing with all your life, even in times where you can say that you had more eating things that weren't as bad for you, but still the same brain chatter, then you have to also get familiar with the space of when there's no chatter. And what I recommend for that is Ayurveda, especially the elements of GAR 35 and SIMDI, because they basically allow you to get control over your mind and get more away from somewhat of an ADHD type of personality that has to jump back and forth from one thing to another until they're actually exhausted.
Okay, thank you. I did earlier this summer do the whole body cleanse.
Okay. Yeah, so
which was fantastic. It almost seemed like a little bit afterwards, it was like it became extremely aggressive after that. And to be completely honest with you again, it's almost like I can't control it very well.
Mm-hmm. And this is because as you increase the energetic potential of the body, it needs something to do. Like, still remember that you're in this powerhouse. So if it doesn't feel like it's engaged, even in things physically, then it has no other choice but to spend that energy somewhere else, right? And so what's really important, again, is to work into grounding that energy. And the only way you can do it is physically. And that's why they say on one side there's Tantra and on the other side there's yoga. And this is the two sides of the path. But yoga, again, takes the body through its bending and its tiredness. It's like your workout. Some people can do this by working out. And I tell you that this will really start tapering the mind. And then also, if you have a creativity, this is where you should look at, well, where's the outlet? And this is the easiest thing that I can say during all of what I'm saying right now is that study your life for the outlet. Like, where's all this energy coming out at? Where is the earth seeing your fertility? And where is existence seeing your fertility? Like, are you inventor? Or do you have something that needs to be completed? This is where the restlessness comes from of the mind, because then it's forced, when it doesn't have these kind of answers, to sum it up, to go back into the wilderness, which is basically what, when, why, where, how, who, what about this, what about that? And then it has no choice but to live there because it's still searching for something. And so it's important, again, to understanding all these energy principles of cleaning the body, all this in, still also requires something that you're distributing these seeds and things to. So in that tense, you look into your relationships. In that tense, you look into your hobbies. So in those kind of areas, you need to make sure that it becomes a proper conductor for the energy that you're working with.
Okay, I'm shaking my head yes, so I'm like, oh yeah, he can't see that.
Great questions.
Oh, anyway, thank you so much. I
welcome.
listened to all of your interviews over and over again, so I'll be listening to this again very shortly. And I just wanted to say you're not alone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's
And you're
great
not
to hear.
alone either.
Exactly.
Remember that too.
Ooh.
Yes, let's go to Ontario, Toronto. Toronto, welcome to the show.
Hello, I have a question regarding synchronicities and just how not to be burned up by them.
Well, I mean, synchronicities versus manifestations is what you would be getting into, because if the manifestation is what is generally causes the burnout effect, and that's of course when manifesting something that it's like instant manifestation, but somewhat of a destructive version. So it's really important to define exactly what you mean by being burnt out by synchronicities by giving me an example.
Say there's just so many to name. It's just impossible. Like, it's just a very general sense of how you just know it there. You know it's there, but it's almost too much to take.
Yeah, I mean, well, you will find yourself experiencing different degrees of that. So I tell you, you do have to buckle in for the long haul, because, of course, when you're just getting into energetic potential, just not even dealing with so much of physical situations that bring about this same kind of energy, but it is literally always like when you come out, it's like, man, I'm not going to be going back in for a while. So there's not something that tends to push you into wanting to continuously keep driving yourself into understanding more and more about this, right? So that's generally the general scope. So and I'm using the same word several times, so I'm going to eliminate it in a little bit. But again, to encompass something completely is the scope. So the next thing is I was thinking of two different things at one time. Just give me a quick moment here. I'm just gathering myself, taking a drink of water. But
that's the dualistic nature of our existence. Sometimes it overlaps with each other. That's what I've determined, anyways. But about burnout, I totally can relate to that.
Oh yeah, okay.
Especially
so
what I'm doing is I'm constantly getting burned out. But you have to just see the big picture.
This is what it is. Excuse me, because I was, like I said, when I see visually and then I have to do it in data, then there's a crash, and that's really what happens. But what it is that it's arousal. Okay, so because what happens in this, and that's why I was telling you earlier in the conversation that what you have to install in 2015 is this mission, because the mission is actually the arousal. That's what makes this like it's an adventure. Other than that, the whole thing, it stinks to high hell, and you really just want to check out. So, because that means the reason why there's a piercing into the knowledge is because of fear. And now remember, all the religions and things work like this. So we work on this system for a while. It's a fear-based system. It's even how children are taught even to this day, right? So if you don't do this, it's going to be this going to happen, and it's going to be a lot worse. So this means the reason why the person's carrying on, trying to learn this stuff, trying to cleanse themselves, is because they're in fear that if they don't do that, then when it's the big lineup or when they leave the planet, then things are not going to go well. So then they're running on fire for a while. Okay, because that's what fear is. So they're running on that fire energy. So the next stage, because the fire energy can only take you so far. That's what I was explaining about the external world, which is made of light or fire. Then the next thing is that now you have to not only keep that fire lit, which is actually your passion, but then you have to tap into your water principle, which is your arousal. Okay, and this is why the water and the curves and all of that goes in with that is all arousal for us, right? And so then what you're attempting to do, because some people start with the arousal first and then actually get burned out in the arousal and then end up turning to the fear in order to keep themselves going. So remember, it can go from either direction on both people or different types of people. So what you're then doing when these two forces come together is not allowing the water, which is the flow and everything's going to be what it is. And, basically the thing that allows you to even go into the zone, to not allow that also to put out the fire. So you're blending these together. So this becomes this ever burning fire that's also not basically nuclear, because this is what Kundalini and things are also attached to, is that when you start raising your consciousness, raising your awareness, then your friction levels are higher. And this is where, remember, they duplicated this body into machines. So see how a machine works and then watch yourself and make sure that you're getting everything. And that's the best idea that you can have about all of this. And the best advice I can give you is that if you're this machine, you're running all this time and you don't have no lubricant, you're going to burn out. So the lubricant is, in every sense, the water that comes in to cultivate this seed of fire. Because when you're getting all this information, it's all fire. It's all fire. So it's actually how seeds are made. Seeds are compressed light or compressed fire, okay? The condensation of light. So now you need to rain on it. That's the next stage. You got to rain on it. And so you need to make the leap of faith inside of yourself from that lower chakra area where the Kundalini resides over death or death. This means beyond death. You have to lose the fear and then go into the arousal, which will quench the fire, which will quench all the uneasiness and all the, like I said, feeling of being burned out, agitated, all this, and then allow you to begin to progress by using that energy. Because remember, you're still storing this. You're becoming familiar with it. It has its uses across the galaxy. So you're getting it. Now you have to understand exactly what to use it for and to tie it into, as I was saying before, if your core, to work on your core. Even if you know your core is not good, because there'll be some people on the line tonight. See, good people don't understand evil people, okay? But when you run the entire scope, then you start to get what's going on. Not everyone thinks that they want to save and help everyone. Some people are thinking right now to go abuse something because their mind is fractured, okay? So what happens is that this process of rekindling and rebuilding the facets of your gem, that's really what it is. Like your body as a daemon or a diamond, which gives us the word a demon, a carbon-based cell, a C60. So basically giving you all of the geometry on the planet, even beyond the pyramids, giving you the actual how the grid is functions, the Hartman grid, the coordinate points. So this is the daemon or the diamond. So this is the planet that's like a gem to many other different kinds of beings, including yourself. You see here, there's lots of jewels. They may be girls, they may be, toys, they may be whatever. These are all gems to you if you like it. So this is the whole shining nature of this entire reality. And the better that we can start embodying this pantheism in a sense into really embodying, meaning you seeing it all as parts of your body. And then actually put it in remembering that, okay, I need oil now. Okay, I need water now. I need to chill out for a moment. And then you can take in those elements. So if you find yourself agitated, turning on water alone, if that's just your first resource, try to go get, some real water, some warning water, the pool, something like that, then some recording, etc. Now, you would think, again, that these things are fruitless because this is how the fire mind works. It's like, shoot, why want to do that now? We got to do this now. We got to save things now. Oh, my goodness, this is all going to fall apart. I'm going to have time to sit down and meditate. But if you don't take time to sit down and meditate, it doesn't really matter what the world's going to do. It's about what you can do. Because you could be the person that's trapped right in the whole thing while it's all coming apart just because of all the pressure that you put on yourself with watching it come apart, rather than realizing that it's not necessarily the external world that's coming apart. It's the internal world that's already been torn apart. And then once you can take those two forces and force them back together, make them marry each other, then merge together, then that's when you get into this next stage that you're looking for. And the only reason then, and I'll say this and I'm done, the only reason why you feel agitated, feel burned out, is because that is still your will, like almost like a taser, continuously agitating you to keep going forward because you're so close. That's always that, man, you're so close. You're about to break through, but there's still certain things that you just have to know because there's only one breakthrough. Meaning that once the other realm opens up, you're never the same again after that. So the best thing is to prepare for those moments and to be prepared when it actually occurs. Because now you know how to cross over. You've defeated death. So once you defeat the idea of death, you can imagine what one's infinite life is after that. And the only thing that I'm here to tell you is it's 100% possible. It's a real thing. I wouldn't joke with you about it. I just as soon as drag Ferraris across the desert and throw thousands of dollars in the air if it wasn't true. You see what I mean? So I'm just a person as an example to come to you and tell you it's a real thing. It's beyond comic books. It's beyond some of the deepest stories, the Ingle Swan, whatever, going into other worlds where there's other entities that live there. All of that is all a real thing. And I see personally that there's many of us on this planet, especially the young men and women, that unless they get that, they don't want to really hear anything else. So it's great that they're agitated right now because they're about to get that and they're going to know that they've received it. So if you were complacent right now and just cool about the whole thing, this would be the wrong time to be like that because it's pushing you into understanding more about it and actually experiencing it.
Well, and what the caller described and what you're describing is exactly what people have described the musicians and the artists and the writers of the Renaissance were regarded as. Yes. I mean, they were seen as the eccentric types that were allowed to be eccentric and they were allowed to be loud and boisterous and really just get it all out because they were seen as being more tuned in to the planet and tuned into the future and could see the future.